We are with you and baby.
Here we are, me and her baby.
Baby, sweetheart. That's my grandbaby.
Your granddog, yeah.
Yes, my granddog, my grandbaby. Okay, well, Raymond, my battery requires that we proceed to business at hand right away. I wanted to talk to you about our plays, the plays you and I have written in the Phoenix area over the last, what would you say?
20 years?
20 years, yes. I was looking at Prince from Saturn, and you produced it in October 1990. Would you please talk about?
1990, jeez.
Yes. Would you please
we Playwrights Workshop Theater produced it, and I directed it, and you know, I know it was based on, you were writing a realistic play based on your experience with a couple of people that stayed with you or lived with you.
Well, my babysitter, and she'd got a husband while she was living on the street. He was a street person.
Well, I'd have to say that was during my purest theater period, so where I still believed that I could change the world, and with one play at a time. And the thing I remember the most about that play was, first of all, going down to your ghetto apartment and just taking all of your furniture right down to the 2 TVs, because I remember one TV worked the sound and one TV worked the picture, and you had to have them both working in order to watch TV. And I remember the lamp that was put together with clothespins and paper clips.
Oh no.
And so we just went in. I just remember going into your house and just taking everything and taking it to the theater and putting it on the set, and that was our set. Well, so I thought, I remember thinking, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. This is you know how theater should happen.
Well, you know how that started is the Prince from Saturn, who was the guy, the street guy,
right,
who was a schizophrenic as well as learning disabled, and an artist, quite a wonderful artist, who wanted this play, begged me to write it, and I also put in my story of becoming disabled and living on welfare and food stamps, and my kids' story, my brilliant daughter and my son in high school.
I thought it was a brilliant play. I thought it was a really, really good production of it. I think at that time, though, I mean, when we started Playwrights Workshop Theater, and all of a sudden we said, well, we'll do this theater company, and our mission statement was to be a diet of strictly new plays by Arizona playwrights. I think everybody was sort of, you know, they were, I wouldn't say it was actually in shock, but it was sort of like, what gives them the right to do this? Who is this guy? Who are these people that think they can do it? Because we didn't come out of Stanford or Harvard or, you know, or Louisville. We were dramatic people, and you had been a playwright, you know, all while I was growing up, and I remember going to family reunions and having to read those plays. But anyway, I mean, and so when we did that play, when we were doing those early plays, and we would have what critics there were here in Phoenix coming, I think they were just disgusted by it all. But I was seeing something very, very different, because the thing about that play, Prince from Saturn, that I remember the most is one night I was up in the tech booth of the theater, and we had about a 90-seat theater in conjunction with the gymnastics place. But I remember being in the tech booth and looking down, because I could look down and see the audience and the play and the actors on stage doing the play, and I suddenly realized that all the characters, I think it was a 6-character play, all the characters were on stage doing this play, and I looked out, and in the audience, all of the people that the characters were based on were sitting in the audience watching themselves on stage. And I went, oh my God, but it was also one of those things where I thought I'm the only one who's seeing this, and it was the definitive of that cliche you always hear of art imitating life, because it was art being played out on stage with all of those people watching themselves.
And you had all of Prince from Saturn's paintings up on the walls when you came in?
Yeah, it was remarkable in a lot of ways. One was, here was in this little subculture of a theater group, we were creating a sense of, I think, importance. I'm reticent to say celebrity, but he was, for the 3 or 4 weeks that we ran that play, he was a celebrity. And I remember he'd come in, he'd be all dressed up. And,
oh yeah,
and
he's
he
Prince
was,
from Saturn.
Yeah. But I thought it was a remarkable production. Of course, the critics were not kind, but they weren't kind to us then anyway. I mean, diverting just for a second, the other one was The Snowstorm, which we put up. It was written by a political dissident from Romania, playwright. And I happened to find another political dissident from the Czech Republic at the time. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant. Right, the Berlin Wall had just come down. We'll do this play by this playwright who'd been kicked out of Romania for doing this play in the French embassy. And I thought, this is brilliant. And Phoenix, is Phoenix even ready for this play?
Were they?
No, they weren't. I mean, I'm always of the attitude that every play that I do is just going to catapult, me to the upper echelon of the theater society, that they'll suddenly realize the brilliance that's happening here. And for some reason, I've never lost that idea, but and the thing of it was it was such a great experience.
Yeah, I remember that play very well.
Yeah. So I mean, doing theater is an education of a kind that you can't.
Oh, and what was so exciting is having new plays that hadn't won Tonys and Pulitzers and been on Broadway.
Right.
This was new plays done mostly by local Phoenix playwrights.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was so marvelous. They weren't bad, they were good. Yeah. What about another play talk about Writer's Block?
Well, let me just say, before you say that, I think that we came out of an era where, it used to be, before there was film, before people participated in so much film and they were going to see theater, you never heard a lot of those. They were working playwrights who were not famous, who were obscure, and nobody really knew that they just worked in the theater. And that was it. And then you went through, I won't get into all the periods because we're working quickly here, but then you had, the era of Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller, when all of a sudden there were playwrights who were world famous. At one time Arthur Miller was one of the most famous men in the country, especially after he married Marilyn Monroe. And so that took the being a playwright. What you had to do to be a playwright, it changed it forever. And so in people's minds, playwrights from Phoenix, they couldn't possibly be any good. So I think there was this presupposition that nothing that a critic here in Phoenix could see by a Phoenix playwright could possibly be any good. And so there was this